Okay, how's it going, guys? So, I've changed bikes again. Sold the Honda CRF300L, which I really liked, but just felt it was time to try something different. So I've brought a year-old KTM, my first ever KTM EXC-F300L, so 4-stroke 350, 349 cc. And EXC, so I mean they call it a dual sport, but it's basically an enduro bike. I think it's around about 40 horsepower and it's around about 100 kilograms, so a lot more get up and go than the Honda, and lighter than the Honda as well. So it's a year old. Previous owner had it, I think he was basically using it on the track quite a lot. It's definitely had a lot of use considering it's only a year old. Mileage and hours are quite low, but you can tell he's really been riding it pretty hard just by the condition of it. It looks like an older bike, but it runs fine, no problems. So anyway, I just thought I'd go for a little tootle and talk about my thoughts about the new bike, because yeah, coming from, so previously I had the started on a little Honda 250, then I had the Fantic 500, then I had the Tenere 700, then I had the Honda 300, and now we're on a KTM. So yeah, quite a different machine to everything else I've had so far. The first thing I can say is very nimble, very easy to ride. Got a hydraulic clutch, very light clutch, brakes are great, suspension is like a completely different beast to the Honda. Suspension actually wants to go fast, it wants to do jumps and wants to hit things hard. Not that I'm going to be doing that right now, I'm just going to tootle along this little bit of the TET. The engine is very, very eager. It's got a big sprocket on the back at the moment because I think he was just using it on a track, so I need to get a smaller sprocket. Great views here, it really is. Hello, horsey. Anyway, yeah, so it's geared very much for track use at the moment. So basically it goes from 0 to 60 really, really quick, and then I'm like revving at 60 quite high, so it's useless on the A30 or faster roads. But yes, super nimble, very, very easy to ride, not stressful. I mean, it's fast and it wants to go, but it doesn't stress you out. It's just a fun amount of power, and it climbs hills with absolute ease. The torque is lovely, it just grumbles along. You can quite easily stick it in 6th gear. I'm in, nope, hang on again. There you go, I'm in top gear now. You can do about sort of 15 or 20 in top gear and just trundle along. Obviously it's not the way it's meant to be ridden, but I'm just saying it has a lot of torque and it just goes. So I've dialed down all the suspension to be like on comfort. The previous guy had it on like you know, hard as it could come, and jacked all the way up. So I've jacked it down a little bit, put the preload down a bit, and set it to comfort for now, just to get used to it, because it's such a dramatic change from the Honda. I just wanted to yeah, make it a little bit more gentle while I get used to it. So things I like: love the clutch, love the engine, love the nimbleness and the lightness of it. It's just so easy. I dropped it the other day and I just picked it up without even realising it. There's just nothing there to it. You know, even the Honda feels heavy compared to this, and that wasn't a particularly heavy bike. I love the riding position. It's pretty good. Like, it is actually comfortable. I'm not a big guy, I'm only 5'8" with fairly short legs, but this, even though it's a relatively tall seat, it doesn't feel tall and sort of tricky. It feels very, very easy. But just overall, it's just the nimbleness of it just makes you want to hoon it around. It'll wheelie in pretty much any gear without too much effort. Well, I've certainly wheelied in 1st, 2nd, 3rd and 4th by accident so far. Haven't tried 5th or 6th yet, but then I'm quite a tame rider, but I'm pretty sure it'll get the front wheel up in 6th gear with this big sprocket on the back. Yeah, so what else do I like? Yeah, the riding position's good, brakes are brilliant, suspension for me is more than I need. You know, I don't need, I'm not doing big jumps and stuff like that, so the suspension is complete overkill, but it has lots of adjustability, so you can dial it to do whatever you want. Like, even set to comfort, it's still quite harsh and chattery, but you'd expect that. This thing is, you know, more of an enduro kind of race bike than it is a commuter, for God's sake. So it's doing exactly what you want it to, and it's definitely yeah, suspension compared to the Honda is just a completely different animal. It's pretty much like they shouldn't even be in the same category. That's why it seems odd calling this thing a dual sport, because it doesn't ride like a dual sport at all. Obviously, I'm just tootling along very slow at the moment. Things I don't like. Let's go through a few of those. So it does have a bit of KTM-ness about it. Yeah, let's just pull over here a sec while I explain myself. So it does have a few things that are kind of quite KTM. So what I mean by that is they don't. Some bits are quite cheap, and everything just pops off like Lego. Like, you can just, you know, take the shroud off with a couple of clips, which is good and bad. It's good in getting into the bike and fixing it and working on it. But some things aren't thought out in terms of like the electrics. Like, I don't think the electrics are very well water sealed, for instance. My brake light, I basically have to keep taking a little connector apart and squirting WD-40 in it because mud keeps getting in there. Little things like that. You know, I don't think the build quality is bad, and I think the frame and the forks and suspension and the engine, I think everything's solid and well built. But just things like the electrics and the plastics are all a bit cheap and flimsy. Like, you know, look at these plastics. They're a year old and it looks like a 10-year-old bike. Regardless of how hard the previous guy had ridden it, it's just, you know, it's aging badly. It's aging quickly, I should say. I do not like the seat. The seat isn't comfortable. I think he's upgraded the wrap, you know, the actual material here from the stock, which is probably relatively tough, but it's not comfortable. Then obviously it's not meant to be, you know, it's not meant to be a comfortable bike. Yeah, you can see the big old sprocket there. It's quite vibey, and, you know, it is quite sort of it's a bit noisier than I'd like. I'm kind of used to sort of quiet bikes. Even with a stock pipe without with the baffles in, it's still pretty loud. It's not like really obnoxiously loud, but it just borders on the point where I feel like I'm annoying people when I go down some of the quiet green lanes, especially on a beautiful quiet day like today. This thing's a little bit noisier than I'd like. So yeah, changing the seat for something would be a good idea. A better, more comfort seat. One of the seat concept seats look pretty good. Changing the exhaust, or, you know, reducing the noise a little bit. For me, I know that, you know, that's not everyone's cup of tea, but a lot of people like loud bikes. But for me, I like to be as covert as possible, and it's a little bit louder than I would like. It has taken a big hit on the radiator here. Got a bit of a dent, but it all seems to be holding water, coolant, and it seems to be all fine. But that definitely does suggest that, yeah, you need some kind of brace to protect the radiator, because he's obviously taken a whack there, and the radiator's got a bit of a bend. So a few basic bits of protective gear that I think, in this day and age, they should just pretty much come on the bike, but they just don't, do they? They don't. No manufacturers really do that, apart from the big old adventure bikes with the bars and everything. But yeah, so that's a little bit of a summary for you. Obviously the clock's incredibly basic. If we start her up, so we get our hours, we get our miles, we get our miles per hour. Obviously very small, very hard to read, you know, but it does its job. So this is at 59 hours at the moment. I've just done an oil change, and I've just done the filters, and obviously I'm doing the air filter every ride. I'm trying to look after the thing. But yeah, I guess that's the biggest negative would be is the amount of servicing that you need to do this. I'm probably going to be changing the oil and the filter every 500 miles. And I'm doing the air filter pretty much every ride, or certainly every dusty ride I'll be changing and cleaning, not changing, but cleaning the air filter. And then obviously you've got some fairly big ones down the line when we're a few more miles into its life. But yeah, overall, let's carry on. But is it worth it? Is it worth that extra hassle? And possibly, you know, the rumours of KTM reliability aren't great. I don't know, because I've never had one before. This thing has started on the button every time so far, and I've done a couple 100 miles on it, and I've got it very wet, very muggy and very hot, and it's been fine. Dog walker might give me a second look when he's up there. But yeah, when you're going over all this lumpy stuff, it's just, this thing is just so more nimble. Than the Honda was, that's for sure. Very, very, very easy to ride, very confidence inspiring, and it just has a has a lot more pull than the little Honda, so it just naturally is more fun, to be frank. So overall, I'm giving this thing a big thumbs up. Whether it's going to be my, let's get past these ladies without talking to myself. Thank you. Whether it's going to be my forever bike is yeah, very unlikely, to be honest. I think I want to try a few more different types of bikes, but I'm enjoying it so far. And if I do want to do Tech Wales, which I do almost certainly want to get that done this year, this might be the perfect bike for it, because it's got plenty of power. It's light, agile. You can just point it at something and it will go up it. It will go over it. Zero problems. Easy to ride, not stressful, easy to pick up if I drop it. It's just yeah, it is a little beauty. It is winning me over, I have to say. So like I say, I've done about sort of 200 miles on it so far, something like that. Not had it that long, but I tend to put a lot of yeah, I do find the kickstand a little bit odd. Hang on, now I've adjusted the suspension. I need to put the nose on the lump a little bit, otherwise it will probably fall over, because kickstand's a little bit too long for it with the suspension as it is. There you go, that's about right. So yeah, overall, in summary, it's a completely different beast to the Honda 300 that I had before. This thing wants to go fast. It really does wants to, you're when you pull the throttle right back, you are hanging on, and it's just so agile and so capable off-road. It makes tricky stuff an absolute breeze. I mean, I've done a few things over the last few days on it that I would have thought twice about on the Tenere, without a doubt. And this thing does it without even, you don't even pause, you don't even think about it, you just go over it, go up it, go down it, and it just does it, and I'm not a great rider, so bear that in mind. I've not been riding that long. What is it, get pushing on 3 years now, trying all different bikes in my time, and my cramming a bunch of different bikes in that short 3-year time. I don't really like the way it looks. I've ordered new plastics. I'm going to keep some orange, but put some grey on it as well. It looks, it looks like a dirt bike. It looks like an obnoxious dirt bike, but it's so yeah, I'm not sold on the way it looks. I think I prefer the Huskies, the 350 FE. I prefer the way they look, but I mean, that's purely cosmetic. They're basically the same bike. I think the KTMs do have slightly better brakes than the Huskies, from what I hear. But what it's all about is, you look at the suspension here, you compare that to what I had on the Honda. That thing was like a joke suspension. I know you can upgrade the suspension, and I was very, very tempted to do that, just start putting money into my Honda and getting it to how I wanted it. But I just thought, let's just try a couple other bikes first. So I sold the Honda and found this one locally, like I said, your old KTM. It does look like it's older than that, doesn't it, when you sort of look at it? Like, the guy's obviously ridden it pretty hard. But either way, I'll freshen it up. I'll put new plastics on it and do a bunch of other stuff, and yeah, make it my own bike. Put a smaller sprocket on the back, so it's got a little bit more legs on the road. Because right now, going up the A30, this is not fun. The Honda is way more comfortable and competent on the road than this thing. Just mainly because of the gearing at the moment, because this thing's got the power. The gearing is, very much set up for the track at the moment, so not ideal for dual sport activity. But anyway, there you go, guys. I just thought I'd give you a sort of a little update on my latest bike. She's not pretty, is she? But she really, really rides very nicely. And if you're getting into your, stuff that I do, the TET and off-road, and finding tricky little bits of little trails, then I don't think you could ask for much more when you're on the trails. This is like, it's easy, fun, and incredibly capable, and it certainly makes me feel like I can ride better already, and I've only had it a short little while. So, but you know, like I said, as soon as you get out on the road, it's vibey, it's noisy, it's struggling to get up there. You know, you definitely don't want to be buying this and commuting on it, let's put it that way. But for the tech stuff, it's a fantastic bike, it really is. Okay guys, I'll leave that there. Just thought I'd do a bit of an off the cuff kind of quick review and introduce you to my new bike, and I'll see you guys later. Hope any of that was interesting. Any questions, whack them down below and I'll probably get around to answering them. Cheers guys.